So I say this not to be derogatory to science, but if we are being bombarded day in and day out about what the scientists say is right or wrong, you have to listen to them, and you have to listen to everyone else who brings a perspective to the issue, because they have their own perspective. And it may not be your perspective even as just a plain human being. It's not about our push for adult stem cell research. It's not about restricting academic freedom and the ability to conduct it, but it's safeguarding the rights of people. And we know from a medical standpoint that there is risk, and there's the question of ethics. Society's role is to protect its citizens through oversight and the ability to control science. Science should not be controlling us. So, what are some of the other medical issues in women's health? And this is a whole talk on its own, believe me. In order to get sufficient let me step back a second. We can take embryos, we can take them from the IVF clinics, and we can do research. But the ultimate goal, and you don't hear too much about it these days because it kind of, the whole word of cloning was kind of difficult to sell. But the idea is to be able to personalize it so it's not rejected, or it minimizes rejection. And that's the cloning that you've talked about, the somatic cell nuclear transfer. So in order to just get embryos to do the basic research now, we're talking about thousands and thousands. To get the number to treat diseases, should that ever be successful, I don't have the number off the top of my head, but we're talking about hundreds of thousands of donors that are needed to supply the eggs for people who want to take their skin cells or whatever in the DNA and put it in and have a personalized clone to take out the embryonic stem cells to treat their disease. This is what healthy women must go through. And I can show you reports after reports, and there's articles after articles about college students. This is how they get their extra money to pay for college. $5,000 to $10,000 per shot, per donation. First, they're injected with hormones, pituitary hormones, for a couple of weeks. Then they come back and they're injected with some more hormones to stimulate the eggs. Then they're injected with a third hormone because they don't want the eggs to, they want to stop them right where they are so they can take them out. And then there's a surgical procedure in order to harvest them. This is what healthy women go through and what we're asking them to go through in the name of research. The risks, without going into details, are pretty obvious. I mean, you've got overstimulation of the ovaries, overstimulation of the pituitary, you've got a surgical procedure, and the risks are there. They've already been shown. They've been played down, but they're there. They're very real. And there's not enough long-term data, as we know, with thalidomide and a lot of products that we didn't know until we had enough data collected to show what the true long-term effects are on sterility, on blood clots, on cancer. And there's a financial gain that exploits women. First of all, by paying them, you encourage people who have the need for money, whether it be college students or people that do not have the financial wherewithal. You are exploiting them. And you are also exploiting healthy women, whether they're rich or poor, by saying, I will pay you, give me your eggs. You get nothing back for it. In fact, society may not get anything back for it. At least in a clinical trial, when we have healthy patients that, again, are volunteering, we have something that's already been through the testing and the animals, and FDA has said, okay, this is as safe as we can possibly believe it to be safe before we go into human beings. At least you have that. Here you don't, because you're asking these women to subject themselves to medical danger. The Hippocratic Oath is, first principle of it is do no harm. And unfortunately, we're forgetting that in the name of science and advancement. Business issues. Okay, what's business have to do? Well, it has a lot to do with it. But again, I'm trying to bring all the different aspects to you. It's your decision in the end, but I want you to understand it all, just as I would like everyone to understand it. And unfortunately, the media gives you little snippets of only this and that, and not the whole picture. The business issues, okay, the people working in this field will tell you we're at least 25 years away, if successful, of surmounting some of these obstacles, of having any kind of therapy from embryonic stem cells. The comment that was made about if it had been approved, what's his name? The actor would have been alive today, Christopher Reeves. It's really kind of pathetic because it holds out such false hope for people. Admittedly, we are 25 years away because we have to overcome this tumorigenicity, immunogenicity issue. The financial, the intellectual property stakeholders, which most of them are in the academic institutions, custom therapy via cloning is expensive. I mean, think about what you have to go through in order to clone your own cells to get your own therapy. So now you've already been discriminatory into who can afford this. And most companies, most private and public companies are not pursuing it. They're pursuing adult stem cell research. It's because it's a good business decision. Why is it a good business decision? If you had several products you wanted to put into clinical trials and try to develop, and one was 20 years ahead and had not as many hurdles, why would you put your money in both and say, well, we'll see which one gets there first? It's just a good business decision, and that's why you don't see companies doing that. And it is so difficult without this anchor around our neck to get a product, through clinical trials and get it approved. Why would we add all these other difficulties to make it such a problem? And that's why you don't see businesses going into embryonic stem cell research. And lastly, and this is, I put this last because I wanted to drive it home, the use of federal funds, and that's what Citizens for Science and Ethics is about. We have not said we're going out saying no embryonic stem cell research, although we don't believe that's the way to go. We're saying no use of federal funds for embryonic stem cell research because there's too many of us that don't believe it's the right way for a lot of reasons.